Hey y'all, grab some of these wood rounds from Dollar Tree for these really fun DIY projects. These wood rounds are sold in stores only, but if you can't find them at your local Dollar Tree, no worries. I found the exact same item minus the hangers at Amazon. I have a link to my Amazon store in my description box below. All you have to do is click on that link, go to crafting supplies, and as soon as that pulls up, you'll see those wood rounds on the top left. You can get 12 of these for $12.99. They're the same size and the same thickness as the ones at Dollar Tree, and they're just a little bit cheaper. For our first project, we are using one of the 11 3/4 inch rounds. We're going to measure from the right hand side over and make a mark at 7.5 inches. Take a piece of painter's tape and line that up. Make sure you get a good seal on it. This is basically about 1/3 of the wood round. Then measuring from the top, we'll make a mark at 4 inches, and measuring from the bottom, make a mark at 4 inches so that you can place your painter's tape on those areas. Make sure to wrap it around the edge because we are going to paint the edge of this round. If you're worried about bleed through, you can always go over the areas that you're going to paint with some Mod Podge. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to take my time and add 2 thin layers. You just don't want to glob that on there and have it bleed underneath the tape. So I'm going to add 1 layer to that top section as well as the outside edge. Then I'm going to get the outside edge on the left hand side of the wood round, and then I'll go ahead and paint that bottom section, and I'm just painting this with a black acrylic paint. Once the first coat dries, I'll add the second coat and allow that to dry before I remove the painter's tape. Once all of that is removed, we're going to take some painter's tape, line it up with the black line at the top, seal it down, and do the same thing for the one on the bottom. We're going to paint that center section with some white acrylic paint. It's going to take at least 2 to 3 coats. Also get that outside edge, and you don't need to paint all the way across. You just want to make sure you get your paint at least past the line on the left, because we are going to cover up that 1/3 on the left with something else. Now that the white paint has dried, I can remove that painter's tape. We're going to turn it around to this side. We're going to take Mod Podge and add a layer of that right on that natural wood area, making sure you get at least up to the black line and bring it all the way to the edges at the bottom. Let that Mod Podge dry. Now that it is completely dry, we're going to set this on a heating mat. We're going to use some scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. It has this beautiful herringbone design on it. Line it up with the black lines. We're going to take a piece of parchment paper and a mini iron. This is my absolute favorite way to Mod Podge paper, fabric onto wood or any type of hard surface. You just gently go over it with this small iron. It reactivates that Mod Podge and it seals it directly to the wood. Then we're going to remove that parchment paper and let it cool down. Because this paper is pretty thick, I like to go around and create a crease around the wood round, and then using my finger sander, go in one direction all the way around to remove that excess scrapbook paper. I have this finger sander as well as that mini iron listed in my Amazon store, and the link to that's in my description box below if you're interested in it. And this is how it's looking so far. To protect the paper, we're going to add a layer of Mod Podge. I'm also going to do this over the painted surfaces just so everything has the same sheen. We'll set that to the side and let it dry. I created a decal on my Cricut, and I used the font Hello Honey, which you can find for free on dafont.com. And I know that not everyone has a Cricut, so I have this as a free printable on my website, and the link to my website is in my description box below. All you have to do is go to Free Printables and select this. You can download the PDF and print this at home, trace it onto your project, and then fill it in with a marker or paint. And any of the decals that you see in my videos are available as a free download on my website. We're now going to apply that right in the center of the painted white portion of the sign. We're using 3 wooden dowels. You can find these at Dollar Tree. We're going to place the first one where the paper and the paint meet. Take a pencil and mark out the curve at the top and bottom of the sign. And then I'm using my handheld miter shears to cut these angles. And this is also listed in my Amazon store if you're interested in those. Once we have both ends of that cut, we're going to lightly go over it with some sandpaper to smooth them out, and then we're going to attach that one right at the edge of the paper using some hot glue. We're going to turn it to the side and take that second dowel and line it up between the painted black and white parts and do the exact same thing. Now you could paint these dowels, but I chose to keep mine in that natural color. I thought that was pretty, and I also thought that this would give it a nice 3D effect. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side, and this is how it should be looking. Now we're going to flip it over to the back and go ahead and create a hanger for it using some twine and hot glue, and then I'm going to reinforce that twine with a piece of ribbon, and I'll do that on the other side. This is just really going to help that twine stay in place because these boards are too thin to put any type of staples in. I have some boxwood greenery from Walmart. I'm going to cut 2 of the stems off, place them end to end, and hold them together using a piece of twine. I'm going to bend it a little bit to form the shape of the top of the sign, and then I'll wrap that excess twine around it. That's going to give us a good base to be able to hot glue this to our sign. I'm also going to create a bow using some 2.5-inch wired burlap, making a very simple bow, just folding that over in the middle, pinch it together, and then we can tie that with a piece of twine. Then we can take that twine and attach the bow to our greenery by tying it in the back. Now leave your excess twine on there because we're going to do something with that as well. Then I found this cute little burlap flower that I bought from Dollar Tree, and we're going to attach that in the center of the bow using some hot glue, and I decided to add 3 natural wooden beads on each of the pieces of twine hanging down, and I can double knot that at the end. I'm also going to add a little bit of glue to make sure that they stay in place. Cut that excess twine off, and then we can attach this to our sign a little bit off to the side, like right at the top of that dowel, using a good amount of hot glue, and this is how it turned out. Today's video is part of What Would You Make Collab, which is hosted by Brenda at Rustic and Lace DIY and Christine at DIY Craftaholic. This month, I have the honor of being the guest host. I will have the playlist link in my description box below. When you're finished with my video, please go over, check out the playlist, and see what beautiful creations these talented ladies have made. And if you're coming over from their channel, welcome. My name is Barbara, and I am so happy to have you here. For our next wood round project, we're using another one of those 12-inch wood rounds. We're going to give this a coat of black acrylic paint. It's not necessary to paint the entire piece, but I did go ahead and do that because I wasn't sure exactly where everything was going to line up. Once that's dry, we're going to add a layer of Mod Podge on the entire piece, and we'll let that dry because we're going to be covering parts of this with some cow print scrapbook paper that I found at Hobby Lobby in this book, which you could catch those on sale, but it has a lot of beautiful designs in it. Now that the Mod Podge is dried, we're going to lay that on a heat mat. We're going to measure about 4 inches up from the bottom, place our scrapbook paper on there, use our parchment paper, and then our mini iron to go over it all the way to the edges to seal that. Then we'll cut that excess scrapbook paper off and use that half to attach to the other side of the wood round. So again, we're going to measure up about 4 inches, and we'll place our scrapbook paper on there and do the exact same thing on that side. We're then going to let it cool down a little bit, and then I like to go around it, create a crease, and then take your sandpaper to go in one direction and remove all of that excess paper. Because my black paint is a little bit darker than the scrapbook paper, I'm going to take a fine grit sandpaper and just gently go over that and kind of rough it up and blend it in a little bit more. Now we're going to add a layer of Mod Podge to seal that paper in, and I'm also going to add it right in the center with the paint so everything has the same sheen. We're going to set that to the side, let it dry, and I have created another decal. This one again, the font is Hello Honey from dafont.com. Now something I wanted to share with you guys just in case you didn't know, but if you have some super sticky transfer tape, I find it is easier if you put it on a microfiber cloth and peel it up. Just do that a couple of times. It makes it a little less sticky because sometimes when you get your decal on your transfer tape, it's really hard to get off. This just kind of takes a little bit of the stickiness away. It'll still adhere to the transfer tape, but it'll be easier for you to put it on your project. It's also easier if you flip it over and kind of pull the back piece off, and that tends to help the letters stay on there easier. Now it is time, we're going to go ahead and put this on our sign. Again, this is a free printable on my website. If you guys don't have a Cricut, you can go over there and download this and trace it onto your project. Before I add any embellishments to the front, I'm going to go ahead and create a hanger on the back using some hot glue, twine, and some pieces of ribbon. We're going to be using 2 lamb's ear picks from Walmart. I do need to trim them down to size so they're a bit shorter and they fit the top part of our sign. I'm also going to bend them around to help form the shape of the top of the sign. I'm going to hot glue the 2 ends together so they're kind of flat, and then I'm going to glue some twine and wrap that all the way around the middle just to hold it together but also give us a good base to be able to hot glue this to our sign. We're going to create a bow for the top of our greenery pieces using some buffalo check ribbon and some more narrow burlap ribbon. For the buffalo check ribbon, I just determined how big I want the bow to be on each side, and then we're going to create 2 loops on each end. So once you have that folded over and you kind of know about how big you want your bow to be, you can double knot that together with some twine and then separate your 2 loops on each side. For the burlap ribbon, we're just going to make like an awareness ribbon and then take your top piece and pinch it down to the middle to create a little bow. We're going to leave 2 tails, and then we can attach that to the top of our buffalo check ribbon, double knotting it with some twine. Then we can take that piece, we'll be able to attach it to our greenery using that extra twine, and then cut the excess twine off. Then I'm going to go ahead and angle each of the tails of the burlap ribbon. You could dovetail them if you like. I just cut them at a slight angle. Then we can attach this to the top of our sign using a very generous amount of hot glue. For our next project, we're going to measure from the left hand side and make a mark at 4 inches and do the same thing on the right hand side. Place a piece of painter's tape on those marks. We're going to paint the center section with 2 coats of a white acrylic paint and then let that dry. Then we're going to remove that tape but save it because we're going to reuse it. We're going to make a mark at the bottom. We're going to make that 2 inches up, and we'll do the same thing on the other side and place a piece of tape on that 2-inch mark. Then we're going to paint the top and bottom pieces with 2 coats of that white acrylic paint. Let that completely dry before you remove your tape, because then we're going to take some more painter's tape and place that on the white lines so that we'll be able to paint that natural wood area a different color. So you could paint yours the color of your choice. I chose to paint mine with a celery green chalk paint, and this will take 2 coats. While that's drying, we're going to be using one of Dollar Tree's MDF Wreath Base forms. This one measures about 12 inches. I wanted mine to have a slightly lighter color, so I'm going to give this 2 coats of an acrylic paint in the color khaki and let that dry. Now that the paint is dry on our wood round, we're going to remove all of that painter's tape. Now the next step is optional. I decided to take one of Dollar Tree's furniture markers, and this is in the color oak, and go over each of those lines just to give it a little bit more dimension. You'll want to let that completely dry. I created another decal. This is using the font Hello Honey from defont.com. And also another decal to put below that. I can't pronounce the name of this font, so I'm going to put it on the screen right here. I'm going to place that on the painted green section, and then we're going to flip it over and make another hanger just like we did in our previous wood rounds by using some hot glue, twine, and some ribbon. Now that our wreath base form is dry, we're going to attach that to the front of our sign, which fits perfectly. We're going to do that using some hot glue. And then I have these really cute wood cutouts that Dollar Tree was selling in the springtime. And I'm going to leave these in the natural wood color because it matches that wreath base form perfectly. And hot glue 1 flower and 2 birds right there at the very top. For this project, I thought we could do something really fun with this wooden owl from Dollar Tree, as well as some of Dollar Tree's furniture markers. They come in cherry, oak, and maple. These are a great way to get that stained look. I'm going to use the cherry marker and go over the back part, trying to go in one direction or at least have it in the same direction. Then I'm going to take some pumpkin spice acrylic paint to paint the nose and some black acrylic paint to paint the eyes as well as the top part of the head. For the really hard to reach areas that the furniture marker couldn't get to, I just added a little bit of brown paint to kind of blend that in. I'll be using the oak marker on the body of the owl, and then once you've allowed all of that to dry, I found this new chalk paint at Dollar General. It was $3, and this is the color ivory that I really wanted to try out. So I'm going to dry brush around the entire outline of the owl as well as the body portion and kind of create more of a feather look. Using a fine tip Sharpie marker, I'm going to go around the outline of the eyes. Instead of using a wood round for this one, we're going to use this sign from Dollar Tree that I thought would be the perfect backdrop for this owl. We're going to attach it to the bottom part of the sign using some hot glue, and I've created another decal using that same font in the previous project, which I'll have listed right here on the screen. I just thought this was really cute to add right to the top of the sign, and I think this would just make the absolute cutest door hanger. I hope you enjoyed today's projects, and if you have a favorite, please let me know in the comment section down below. I always love to know which one is your favorite. Please make sure to check out the playlist in my description box below, and if you are new here, I would love for you to consider clicking that subscribe button right below the video. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please take care, and I'll see you guys next time.